Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be tackling a topic that a lot of you have been asking about, living with MS, and specifically things you can do to help yourself
Yeah,
if you're dealing with that diagnosis. So
it's a big one.
it is a big one, and we've got a lot of great information to share. We've got
Yeah, we do.
research papers, we've got some personal accounts to kind of weave into the mix,
Absolutely.
and even some surprising research as well. And we're going to try to make sense of it all
For sure.
and kind of distill it down
Yeah,
into some usable knowledge.
exactly. No medical jargon today.
No medical jargon. We're just going to have a conversation
It's a good chat.
and hopefully be able to
Yeah, just
give you some things to think about. So to start with, I think it's helpful to kind of understand
absolutely.
what exactly MS is.
Yeah. And that's a great place to start because knowledge is power. And understanding what's going on in your body is the first step to taking control. Yeah.
Of your health journey. So MS, multiple sclerosis, is an autoimmune disease. And we have this paper here from 1997 that explains it really well.
Okay.
Essentially, your immune system, which is supposed to be protecting you, it gets a little confused
Right.
and starts attacking the myelin sheath that surrounds your nerve fibers.
Oh, okay.
So you can think of myelin like the insulation around electrical wires.
Gotcha.
It helps those signals travel smoothly. But when the myelin is damaged, those signals get disrupted, leading to all sorts of symptoms.
So, and that's the thing with MS is the symptoms can be so varied and so different.
Absolutely. It's like a puzzle where each person has their own unique set of pieces, right?
Yeah.
Some people experience fatigue, others have mobility issues, some might have vision problems. You might even have cognitive changes.
Wow.
So it's really all over the map, and that's why personal experience is so vital when you're managing the condition.
Yeah.
What works for one person might not work for another.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that can be so frustrating for people living with MS is that
There's not like a clear-cut,
absolutely.
this is what you do.
Yeah. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing,
Yep.
which is why we're here, right? It's kind of explore what those options are.
Exactly.
And hopefully give people some
Yeah.
tools to work with.
And there is hope.
Yeah.
I know that there is no cure for MS,
Right.
but the research that we have points to lifestyle choices,
Yes.
making a huge difference. So you can do a lot to help yourself.
Yeah. You absolutely can. And that's what's so encouraging is that even though we can't eliminate MS entirely, we can take steps to manage it and really improve our quality of life.
Exactly.
And lifestyle modifications play a significant role in that. We're talking about managing stress,
Yeah.
adjusting your diet, incorporating exercise.
Mm.
These things might sound simple, but they can have a real impact.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of stress, that's
It's a big one.
a big one for a lot of people. But how does that actually connect to MS stuff?
Well, it's really interesting. There was a study back in 2006 by Raisin, Capuron, and Miller. They actually showed a clear link between stress and inflammation. And this is important because when you're stressed, your body releases all sorts of hormones, but trigger an inflammatory response.
Right.
And for someone with MS, this inflammation can actually worsen their symptoms.
So it's not just about feeling good, it's about actually protecting your nerves.
Exactly. It's about protecting your nerves, reducing the damage that inflammation can cause.
Gotcha.
And that's where techniques like mindfulness, meditation, yoga come in. They're not just trendy fads, they're actual tools that can help you manage that stress response
Right.
and hopefully reduce inflammation in the process.
Okay. That's a pretty compelling reason to prioritize relaxation.
I think so.
I think so too. Now, what about diet? I know there's a lot of information out there, a lot of misinformation.
Oh, yeah. So much misinformation about what's best to eat for MS.
Yeah,
It's tough to sort through it all.
it is.
Yeah.
So is there like a magic diet for MS?
You know, unfortunately, there's no magic bullet.
Okay.
But there is some interesting research on specific approaches.
Yeah.
And one that caught my eye was the ketogenic diet.
Okay.
There's a 2024 study that suggests it may actually have the potential to reverse autoimmune processes.
Hold on. Reverse.
It sounds crazy, right?
Yeah, reverse autoimmunity. How does that even work?
It's still early days, but the basic idea is that by switching your body's main fuel source from glucose to ketones,
Okay.
you're actually impacting immune function at a very fundamental level.
So by changing what you eat, you might be able to influence how your immune system behaves.
It's pretty remarkable, isn't it?
That is incredible.
Yeah.
But I imagine there's a lot more research needed before anyone jumped on that keto bandwagon.
Oh, absolutely. It's crucial to talk to your doctor before making any drastic dietary changes. They can help you weigh the potential benefits and risks.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, now what about exercise? I know that can be a challenge for people with MS depending on their
Let's do that.
symptoms.
Absolutely. Depending on your specific symptoms, exercise can definitely be a challenge. But the thing is, even modified exercise, tailored to your abilities, can have so many benefits. And there's this really surprising study from 2021 that showed that challenging activities like cold exposure.
Cold exposure.
Yeah, I know it sounds a little out there.
So we're talking like ice baths and...
Not necessarily ice baths, but the point is that pushing your limits in safe ways, in ways that work for you, could actually be beneficial. Because what happens is that exercise, even adapted for MS, can strengthen your immune system, improve your mood, and just contribute to a sense of well-being.
So it's not about becoming a marathon runner.
No.
It's about finding ways to move your body that feel good.
Exactly. It's about listening to your body and finding what works for you.
And might even have those protective benefits as well.
Right.
I like that. It feels like we're talking about a very holistic approach here.
It is a holistic approach.
Mind, body, what you eat, how you move, it's all connected.
It really is all connected. And that's a really powerful concept when you're living with MS. You have more control than you might think.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's move on to therapies and treatments. There are so many options out there.
There are.
And I know this is where medical guidance is...
absolutely essential. Absolutely essential.
Absolutely. You need to have those conversations with your doctor. You need to work together to create a plan that feels right for you.
Yeah.
But understanding the landscape of what's available can help you ask the right questions.
Right.
It helps you be a more active participant in your own care.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's decode some of these options.
Let's do it.
We've got pharmaceuticals. There's a 2002 paper that really caught my eye that was talking about nitric oxide and its role in MS.
Right.
So can you kind of explain what that's all about?
Yeah. So this paper, it highlights something we've already touched on, which is inflammation. Inflammation is a key player in MS and nitric oxides.
Or NO is a molecule that's involved in all sorts of bodily processes, including inflammation. But in MS, what can happen is that you get excessive NO production.
I gotcha.
And that actually contributes to the damage. So some medications, what they do is they try to regulate NO production to sort of dampen down that inflammatory fire.
So instead of just treating the symptoms, they're trying to kind of go after what's happening.
Yeah, like targeted firefighters going after the source of the problem.
That's a great analogy. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so shifting gears a bit, we've also got a couple of papers on cannabinoids and MS.
Right.
So is there any evidence that cannabis can actually help with MS symptoms?
Yes, there's definitely growing interest in the potential therapeutic benefits of cannabinoids, particularly CBD. And it's important to distinguish between THC, which is the psychoactive component of cannabis, and CBD, which is not psychoactive. They both interact with the body's endocannabinoid system, which plays a role in regulating things like pain and inflammation and immune response.
So are we talking about smoking marijuana?
Not necessarily.
To manage MS?
So not necessarily. Some people do find relief from certain symptoms with medical cannabis.
Okay.
But the research is still ongoing. We have studies from 2002 and 2015 that explore the potential of cannabinoids, particularly CBD, for managing things like spasticity and pain.
Okay.
But the key takeaway here, I think, is that this is an area of ongoing research, and you absolutely have to talk to your doctor to see if and how cannabinoids might fit into your treatment plan.
Okay. So a lot of unknowns still.
Yeah, there are still a lot of unknowns.
What about other treatment options? I've heard about DHEA, which is a naturally occurring hormone being studied for MS.
Yeah. There's some fascinating research on DHEA. We have papers from 2009, 2017, and 2019 that suggest it might be beneficial. And again, it comes back to its anti-inflammatory properties.
Okay, so how does that work in the context of MS?
So what's intriguing about DHEA is that it might not only influence the immune system, but also nerve cell function and protection. So it's kind of hitting it from multiple angles. Yeah. But again, more research is needed to confirm its effectiveness and to figure out the right dosage.
Okay. So another potential avenue, but not a definitive solution yet.
Right, exactly.
Okay. What about ozone therapy?
Oh, ozone therapy.
That one sounds a little unconventional.
It does, it does. So ozone therapy involves introducing ozone gas into the body, often through the blood. And the idea is that it could modulate the immune system and reduce inflammation. We've got some studies here 2017, 2020, and 2021
Mm-hmm.
that look at ozone's effects and even its potential impact on something called Th17 cells,
Okay.
which are involved in the inflammatory process in MS.
But is it safe? I imagine there are some risks involved with
For a risk.
introducing ozone into the body.
Yeah, you have to approach this one with caution.
Mm-hmm.
While some studies show some encouraging results,
Okay.
ozone therapy is still pretty controversial. Its safety and long-term effects are still being investigated. So if this is something you're considering,
Yeah.
definitely talk to medical professionals who
Yeah.
are experienced in this specific therapy.
Proceed with caution is the message there.
Yes.
Okay. Now, before we wrap up this discussion on treatments,
Okay.
we have to talk about vitamin D.
Yes, we do. We have to talk about vitamin D.
There is a mountain of research
Yeah,
that is
that
on
is
this
it.
connection to MF.
And for good reason. The link between vitamin D and MS
Yeah.
is well established. We have research on supplementation.
Right.
We have research on deficiency, its impact on MS activity, you name it.
So it's clearly an important piece of the puzzle. What's the key takeaway here for someone living with MS?
So the key takeaway is this. Vitamin D deficiency is incredibly common in people with MS.
Okay.
Supplementing to reach healthy levels might have some protective benefits. It might influence immune function and potentially even reduce disease activity.
But too much vitamin D can also be a problem.
And it can be. It can be. Too much of a good thing can sometimes backfire. We actually have a 2018 paper here on vitamin D toxicity.
Right.
So like with any supplement, the dosage is crucial. Too much vitamin D can have negative consequences.
Sure.
So work with your doctor to determine the right amount for you.
It seems like the common theme here is that knowledge is power. You have to understand the options and work with your doctor to kind of make informed decisions
Absolutely.
about what's best for your situation.
This isn't about us giving medical advice. This is about empowering you with information so that you can be an active participant in your own healthcare. Stay informed, advocate for your needs, and collaborate with your healthcare team.
Yeah.
Those are the most important tools that you have.
Well said.
Ah,
So it's about being in the driver's seat
it is.
of your health journey,
Absolutely.
armed with that knowledge
Yeah.
and a collaborative spirit.
And it's about recognizing that while MS presents challenges, it doesn't have to define your life.
Yeah, I love that. So it's not just about managing a disease.
Right.
It's about living your life to the fullest
Yes.
with MS as a part of your story. It's not the whole story.
Beautifully said. You know, one thing that struck me while reviewing all this research is the emphasis on personalized care.
Okay.
There's a growing recognition that what works for one person with MS might not work for another.
Right, because everyone's experience is so unique.
Exactly.
How does that translate into actual care, though?
So it means moving away from that one-size-fits-all approach
Okay.
and towards a more individualized treatment plan.
Gotcha.
And that involves open communication between you and your healthcare team,
Okay.
careful monitoring of your symptoms and how the disease is progressing, and a willingness to adjust strategies as needed.
So it's about being proactive,
It is.
advocating for your needs,
Yes.
and working closely with your doctors to find that path forward.
Absolutely. And it's about staying informed about new research and treatment options because this field is constantly evolving.
Right.
Knowledge is a powerful tool for navigating that landscape.
Speaking of navigating, I know we've covered a lot of ground here.
I have.
It can feel overwhelming
It can.
to think about all these different lifestyle modifications and therapies and treatment options.
It really can.
So what would you say is the most important thing for someone
Oh, that's a great question.
with MS to focus on?
It's easy to get lost in the details, but I think the most crucial element is empowerment.
Empowerment. Can you unpack that a little bit? What does that actually look like for someone living with MS?
Well, it's about taking ownership of your health journey. You know, MS presents challenges, but it doesn't have to define you.
I love that.
Yeah,
It's about focusing on what you can control, not just feeling helpless.
exactly. It's about understanding your body, knowing your options, and actively participating in your care. It's about connecting with others who understand what you're going through,
Yeah.
sharing experiences, finding support, and it's about advocating for your needs, both with your healthcare team
Right.
and in the wider community.
So it's about living your best life with MS as a part of your story,
Yes,
not the whole story.
beautifully said. And remember, there is always hope. Research is progressing, treatments are improving, and with knowledge and proactive engagement, you can make a significant difference in your journey with MS.
Yeah, that's such an important message. It's easy to get discouraged, but it sounds like there are reasons to be optimistic about the future.
Absolutely.
Huh.
We've talked about some promising areas of research, but there are always new discoveries on the horizon.
That's exciting. Any final thoughts you want to leave our listener with? Something to ponder as they continue on their own path?
We talked a lot about the blood-brain barrier, that super selective gatekeeper that controls what gets into the brain. And we know that in MS, this barrier can become compromised.
Mm-hmm.
But what if we could find ways to repair it or strengthen it?
Yeah, that 2022 paper we looked at really dug deep into that.
It did.
It highlighted how inflammation can disrupt the barrier, leading to more damage.
Mhm.
But it also hinted at the possibility of future treatments focused on protecting or even repairing it.
Exactly. It's a fascinating area of research. If we can shore up that defense system, it could potentially limit the damage and slow down disease progression.
Wow, that would be a game changer for so many people. It feels like we're on the cusp of some groundbreaking advancements.
We might very well be. And
Yeah.
that's why it's so important to stay curious, stay informed, and never lose hope.
Well said. To our listener, keep learning, keep exploring, and remember, you're not alone on this journey. There's a whole community of support and knowledge and resilience out there. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into MS, and until next time, keep jiving deep.